talking back. Setting, late 1800s, the lights come up and we see letters suspended from a piece of string. Setting, early 90s, maybe nothing in the space indicates the decade except maybe the TV. Setting, an Indigenous woman, late 40s, walks into the space holding a box. As she walks on stage, she announces the year is 2020.
Watching her and saying, she had this microphone.
How old were you?
No, she was doing Sister Girl.
Oh yeah, that's the same photo I've got on Facebook.
And she stood up and she says, what we have to learn, what do you reckon? We have to get along. She says, we have to stop fighting with each other. She says, we can't be doing this white man's divide and conquer. I'm thinking, well, you're deadly, Mum. You're solid.
White man's divide and conquer.
I see her sitting there, young Alice. She was only 7. My great-grandmother playing near the water. She had been out with all the other women and girls that day, singing, hunting, laughing. The sun was warm and the water cool, and the faces she looked upon shared her joy of laughter and playfulness. The kind faces of women who gave her strength through their wisdom and knowledge. Wisdom, knowledge, and the acceptance that one day the young girl will pass on this knowledge to her own children, continuing a connection of mind, body, and spirit to soil, rock, and water. Okay, so next question is 2 down. How many lives does a cat have? Well, that's an easy one. 9 lives. Hey, Wolf, that's how many kids I had. 9 precious lives. 4 sons and 5 daughters. Okay, you see, my grandmother is Barbara, and she named her daughter Barbara, who was my mother. And they both had sisters named Dot. So that makes Dot, the sister of my mother, would also be my mother, and Dot, the sister of my grandmother, would also be my grandmother. So that makes her Nana Dot. You got it yet? You still look a little confused. Geez, it's not that hard, you mob. I have 2 mothers and 2 grandmothers. All you noobs in the audience, you keeping up with me, right? Okay, Mum, tell me about my great-grandmother, Nana Alice. How did an Indigenous woman, a young widow with 10 children, manage to keep all those kids together in a time when our children were under the ever-watchful eye of Mr. Neville? Yeah, well, they're all interesting questions. And then for those kids to grow up and become successful actors, writers, war heroes. Yeah, I know, she always said, you can't blame it on being black. You know, we weren't allowed to declare our trauma back then. When I was younger, intergenerational trauma wasn't spoken of then. Well, I'd never heard it before. We were just told to get on with it. You can't blame it on being black. Heaven forbid. You know, looking back at those letters, there was always this control from men. All those men were talking about controlling my family. What do you reckon, Wolf? How we lived our lives. Permission for this, permission for that. Always watched, always fucking controlled. There always seemed to be this dark shadow watching us, mob, leering over us. It's waiting to pounce. She hears it before she sees the thunderous sounds of horses galloping. They came into view as she looked startled, realising they were closer than she anticipated. She tried to run but froze in terror as the horses trampled the dirt around her, upturning the soil until it looked like a huge patch of mud exposed near the riverbank. She could feel the heat from the horse's nostrils as it reared its head towards her. Then the whelp stopped, and everything went black. So, 3 toxic relationships later, and here I am, just as broken. Oh, but I can't blame it on being black. Okay, I will blame it on being broken. Yeah, but then they say, why are you broken? 'Cause I'm black, fuck ya.